cardio is not such a bad word.
You're not just wrong, you're stupid.
Welcome to Film Fu, where the country clears the kicks. I'm Shifu Payne, and you know, Marvel really are upping their game in terms of TV. Since the start of 2021, we've had 3 completed or ongoing Disney Plus programs air with various levels of praise or criticism. There are those that have marveled at the comic accuracy, those that speculate on where this colossus of a franchise will go from here, and if you're like me, you're probably sitting in your rocking chair complaining that what we had before was better. On a journey that began in 2013, Marvel and Netflix made a deal to give certain lesser-known characters their own television shows, to give heightened popularity to certain characters and spread the influence of the growing MCU, as at the time it was decided that these shows would fit into the same continuity, but deal more in the street-level, realistic stuff that the movies would not touch, with varying levels of success and opinions ranging from perfection to misfires. 2018, however, saw the end of this particular race, whether it was a decision made to streamline the continuity, move focus onto them then developing Disney Plus, or the feeling that this direction would no longer fit into the image of the MCU. Or perhaps it was a mixture. One by one, the shows were cancelled. Now, as there are 6 shows in total, let's zero in a little bit and talk specifically about the flagship show in this particular branch. Starting in 2015 and lasting for 3 seasons until 2018, Daredevil served pretty much as the Iron Man to this corner of the MCU. It set up the tone, the world, the focal characters, and gave us the perfect depiction of its title character with the perfect casting. With the outcry of these characters making their way to the MCU proper, there's a reason why people still wish for Charlie Cox to stay as the character. Not only did Cox play the character with such emotional range and vulnerability, but he also really cared about the story of this character by making certain to pay attention to the details. I don't think this show would have lasted for 3 seasons. Hell, I don't think the character of Daredevil wouldn't have become so much more popular without Charlie Cox giving it his all. So with that wanking off of the main actor, let's talk turkey, and talk specifically about a certain episode of this series, and take a look at its fight scenes. The episode picks up with Matt having just been pancaked in his attempt to rescue a little boy that had been kidnapped by the Russian mafia. Matt gets found and patched up by a nurse named Claire, played by Rosario Dawson, who, over the course of the episode, allies with Matt's mission, helps him to track down the kid, and the Devil of Hell's Kitchen cements his legend. It is so interesting to go from the first episode to this one. To use a boxing analogy, as our protagonist's father was a boxer, the first episode was the first round. Matt came out swinging. He showcased the tempo he's working at, set the tone for the fight, and finished the round ready and able for more. Now we're into the second round. The other fighter is adapted. There's more challenge to the fight. Matt is on the ropes. The question is growing if he can or if he is able to carry on the fight as the challenge level increases. Does Matt Murdock have the will to move forward? Well, let's take a closer look and find out as we take a look at the hallway fight scene from Daredevil Episode 2. We begin here, at a lovely panning view of where all the major players are, what the layout is, and we get accustomed to this view. This was shot as a one-take action scene, a format which is interesting but not unheard of, and throughout the scene there are cuts that are cleverly hidden so the actors can reset and crew are not in frame, but it's intended to be viewed as one long take, which in and of itself is an impressive accomplishment. And as Matt steps into the hallway, you can just tell he is not at 100%. There's the wound that can be seen on his arm, and his head is drooped, which could be just him relying more on his hearing, but it could also be an indication of exhaustion. Note also the green tinge to the lighting. Looking at a color wheel, green is complementary to red, the color most often associated with the character of Daredevil. It's a visual indication that Matt still has a way to go in terms of becoming the icon of Daredevil. Almost like he's halfway there, and also still a bit green. Matt approaches the first door, and as he enters the room, we see before our vision of obscured, a front kick, and a quick combo of a couple of hook punches, before the door closes and the camera settles back to prep for the next bit. The door is crashed through as more enter the fray, and that guy...
Oh dear, is she dead?
Matt re-enters the hallway, and as he wrestles with this guy and his gun, giving him a swift kick to the groin, he also seems to knock out this guy and then either sweeps this third guy or just slams him to the floor. He then front kicks that first guy as he tries to get up. The second one gets back up and tries to shoot, but Matt intercepts as the camera swings around. Matt throws what I think is a broken bit of gun to someone else to then throw and take down this guy. Already we can see Matt is getting winded. That second front kick was sloppy. He physically collapses after knocking out that second guy, and there's generally more of a focus on brute force instead of doing anything fancy. Everyone then starts to get back up, which I must say is a nice bit of realism. Unlike a standard fight scene where a load of goons get knocked out from just one hit, it's nice to see, especially when remembering that context that Matt is not at 100%, so he's probably not hitting with a full tank. Matt then wall jumps behind this guy and strikes him on the back of the head, gut punches the next guy, plus striking the neck of the third guy. It seems he's got a gun in his hand and that he's using it as a bludgeoning tool. Again, going back to his fatigue, but also aiding to his resourcefulness, using the environment to his advantage. See the microwave from earlier. He then traps the arm of this guy, going in with a string of hook punches, going back to those boxing groups, and the trapping, which could be from a multitude of martial arts, but I'll highlight Wing Chun here as it has more of a hand-to-hand focus. It really is that even though Matt comes from a boxing background, he really is leaning more into that MMA approach. Grapples that could be from anywhere from Aikido to Jiu-Jitsu, Wing Chun, maybe even Muay Thai with the knee movement earlier. Or was that Krav Maga?
No groin, no Krav Maga.
The camera swings back around and we hide another cut. As this scene has been shot with the intention of making it look like one long take, it requires staging and subtle cuts to change between Charlie Cox and the stunt guys. That previous bit was Cox, so now there's the quick change to the stunt person. The clues to it being a stunt guy come in the shading to hide the actor's face, plus the increased distance compared to the previous set piece. Moving on, Matt's endurance is pretty much gone as he lets this guy throw punches, blocking and parrying until Matt executes a jumping back. A few more hooks and punches, not to mention an elbow and a knee here, bringing back that Muay Thai. Although, that knee... oof. Matt jumps off the wall for a boost into a Superman punch, more trapping here as well as more knee attacks. Matt, you can tell, is just fighting through the exhaustion, as he executes a tornado kick and goes off balance in the landing. Maybe now's not a good time to ask if Matt's been doing those endurance workouts. The fight moves out of shot, I'm guessing to exchange stunt actors, or maybe Cox did some of that last bit. Matt then traps this guy's leg and sweeps him, moving on to then do this absolutely terribly sloppy kick. Seriously, give that stunt guy a medal. Plus an ice pack for those ribs. Matt finishes by just wailing on this last guy with whatever is left. The fight ends with Matt approaching the end door, where the child is being kept. He enters off camera, the idea being that he took off his mask to show the child his face, as an act of comfort to a child that was just as scared and just as separated from their father as he was at his age. Notice again the lighting. The room has a red light. It's complementing that green light of the hallway. The colours are balanced. Matt has also gone from the green to the red. This was his moment of truth, when he truly dug through the pain and the exhaustion to save a scared little boy, daring to rescue the innocence that could not be saved in Matt himself. In my opinion, it wasn't the first time he went out into action, or when he got in his suit. It was this moment. This was when Daredevil was born. Now let's talk about the actual character of Matt Murdock in more broad details, as it's unlikely I'll come back to this show at any point. Matt Murdock is, all in all, a flawed person. He has a deep-seated rage inside him, a compulsion to push away the people that care about and love him, a borderline addiction to a lifestyle that would, in all probability, kill him, all of which wrestles against the example set by his immortalized father and his Catholic faith. There are points where Matt's actions are called to question. It's asked if he does this because he cares about justice, or if he just wants an excuse to hurt people.
But to do what you do, you had to keep training all those years knowing you would do something like this. Maybe you just can't stop yourself.
I don't want to stop.
He knows where to stop and that it's wrong to kill because of
Redemption for
even with the multiple points of where the character is at the edge of taking a life, all juxtaposed with his antagonistic foil, Wilson Fisk. Both of them are people that claim to love Hell's Kitchen, but where they are alike, they are also different. While both had their innocence taken away at an early age, it was in very different ways, with Matt being a victim of tragedy, and Wilson enduring and finally retaliating against the abuse of his father. They both are still very much influenced by their fathers. Matt idolizes and remembers the enduring nature of his father, while Wilson continues the cycle of abuse, but instead of isolated to a single person or household, it becomes spread out to Hell's Kitchen.
Look, this show is really good. Just go watch it. It's still on Netflix. So with that all being said, what does this show leave us with?
On the physical and martial arts side of things, seriously train your endurance.
Trust me, for such long stretches of physical activity, cardio is not such a bad word.
You're not just wrong, you're stupid.
I mean, you wouldn't go on a marathon without going on a jog at least once. Next up, never underestimate the power of perseverance.
Sure, when life gets hard, it's tempting to just throw in the towel, give up and say you can't do something. But trust me when I say that the person who tries and fails does more than the person who never tried at all. And on a writing perspective, having a character that perseveres through hardship, give all they have and come out on top is instantly recognizable and identifiable in an audience. Downright inspiring. Maybe that's what gave this scene such a standout status for the show, as did the show overall.
Back in 2018, Daredevil was one of the last shows to be cancelled. And I don't think I'm stretching at all when I say that behind the scenes of the show was most likely very stressful. I mean, to hear the rumours and the hearsay about whether or not the show was going to be cancelled. But did the creatives behind this show give up? Did they throw in the towel and say, oh well, we're gonna get cancelled anyways, might as well just throw something out? No. They instead chose to go out on a high note and create art. Because this show is art. Art about fundamentally very flawed people, all persevering and working to become better people. All in their own ways, just like any of us would. Look, there's nothing more that I can put into words, just go watch this show.
Fuck up, get out!